African identity is not a fixed point. It is a living rhythm, flowing from our past, breathing in our present, and guiding our future. What defines African identity? A mosaic of languages, cultures, beliefs, and histories, grounded in shared memory and lived experience. Our identity was not given to us. It was carved from struggle, stitched by resilience, and passed through generations like sacred fire. How did colonialism affect African identity? It fractured indigenous systems, but ignited resistance and a fierce reclaiming of dignity and culture. Even in chains, African spirit danced. Even in silence, our songs carried across oceans. How did enslaved Africans preserve identity? Through music, dance, storytelling, and spiritual rituals that resisted erasure and affirmed their humanity. To know who you are, trace the stories of your land, its rivers, empires, and the wisdom of its elders. What role does history play in identity formation? Africa's past, pre-colonial empires, oral traditions, and ancestral memory shapes collective consciousness. African identity is not one voice but a symphony. Each tribe, each language, each rhythm adds its power to the whole. What does diversity mean in the African context? Celebrating thousands of cultures and languages while uniting through shared heritage. Even after the storm of colonization, Africa did not drown. It rebuilt, rewrote, and rose with pride. What was the effect of post-independence struggles on identity? They challenged African nations but gave rise to movements of reconstruction and self-empowerment. Identity is our compass. Without it, we are lost in the world. With it, we stand unshaken. Why is reconnecting with African roots vital today? It empowers generations to overcome inherited trauma and build a purposeful future. Though borders divide us, our stories bind us. Africa is one drum with many beats. How did colonial borders affect unity? They led to division, but sparked Pan-Africanism and collective identity movements. To know your ancestors is to know yourself. Their breath still moves in our bones. Why is tracing African lineage important? It connects us to the victories, struggles, and wisdom of those who came before us. Each name in your family is a drumbeat echoing from history's heart. What does African genealogy teach us? That identity is a layered story, enriched by tribes, migrations, and legacies. We carry our ancestors not in our memories, but in our very breath. How do African stories preserve history? Oral traditions like songs, proverbs, and fables pass down truth through generations. Africa speaks in the rhythm of drums, in the wisdom of elders, in the silence of graves. What role do oral traditions play in identity? They are the voice of our ancestors, keeping language, values, and spirit alive. We are built on pyramids, fortified by temples, and crowned by memory. What is the legacy of Africa's ancient civilizations? Civilizations like Egypt, Kush, and Great Zimbabwe shaped our pride, systems, and identity. Even the dust of Africa remembers. Why preserve our cultural memory? Because forgetting is erasure, and remembering is resistance. Your roots are not beneath you, they are within you. How do ancestral stories empower today's African youth? They show that greatness is inherited and possible. Our traditions are not relics of the past, but living flames that light our path forward. In the drums of our ceremonies, in the chants of our rituals, our ancestors still speak. Why do traditional African practices remain vital today? Because they offer dynamic wisdom, spiritual guidance, and cultural identity that evolve across generations. Every ritual, every drumbeat, every dance step is a prayer in motion, a way our souls echo the divine rhythms of creation. What do African spiritual traditions teach us about life? That the divine is everywhere, in nature, ancestors, and daily life. And we are spiritually bonded to the earth. To forget our traditional beliefs is to silence the wisdom of the ancestors who still walk beside us. How do African rituals stay relevant across time? By adapting to change while preserving core values, they guide communities spiritually, and culturally. Our connection to the earth is sacred. Every season, every harvest, every birth is a reminder that we belong to a greater cycle of life. What role does nature play in African traditional beliefs? Nature is sacred. Rituals, taboos, and traditions center on respecting and honoring the earth's rhythms. In the symbols of the spirit world, we find maps of the soul. Our ancestors built civilizations with wisdom, not written in books, but in rituals. How do initiation rites shape African identity? They mark life transitions, transmit ancestral knowledge, and connect individuals to their spiritual duties. Our languages are the drums of our ancestors, carrying the rhythms of identity across deserts, forests, and oceans. To speak them is to awaken the heartbeat of Africa itself. Why is language more than communication in Africa? It is the vessel of heritage, pride, and unity, linking generations and preserving the soul of a people. Every African language is a library without walls, holding centuries of wisdom, proverbs, and songs. To lose one is to burn a chapter of our shared history. What happens when indigenous languages disappear? A cultural memory fades, and the wisdom of elders risks being silenced forever. To speak your mother tongue is to walk in the footsteps of your ancestors and to carry their dreams into the future. How does language shape identity? It defines who we are, grounding us in our culture and connecting us to our community's shared values. African languages are not fading echoes. They are living rivers, flowing with stories, values, and the courage of our people. How do oral traditions preserve African culture? Through storytelling, proverbs, poetry, and song, they keep history alive and guide future generations. Colonial tongues may have crossed our shores, but our own languages carry the soil of home, and with them, we grow unshaken. How did colonialism affect African languages? It marginalized indigenous tongues, but resilience and revival movements are restoring them to pride of place. In the clicks of Khoisan, the melodies of Swahili, and the tones of Yoruba, lies the proof. Africa speaks in many voices, yet sings one song. What does Africa's linguistic diversity teach us? That unity thrives not in sameness, but in honoring our many differences. The digital age can either silence our native tongues or amplify them. The choice rests in our hands and on our screens. How can technology help preserve African languages? By creating digital content, teaching in local languages, and promoting them online. Language is not just spoken, it is danced, sung, drummed, and woven. It lives in every movement, every rhythm, every beat of Africa. How is language expressed beyond words? Through music, dance, theater, and art, it translates identity into action. When we honor our languages, we do not just speak, we declare, we are still here, we remember, we endure. What role do languages play in resilience? They are the backbone of cultural survival and collective memory.